I think thinking positive sucks. Thinking positive, it can be toxic sometimes. Everything will be all right. It's almost dismissive. Procrastination isn't the lack of effort. It's the fear of a future feeling. Figure out what your fear is. Passion usually comes in the form of serving others. I'm passionate about making money. That's really not it. How do I serve others? How does a dream become a goal? Everything has to have a timeline. Everything. Otherwise, it's just a dream, right?
Let's dive right into this. I'm going to hit you right off the bat hard. How do people make their dreams come true?
When people have a dream, it's a thought, right? So how do you make it realistic? Everything has to have a timeline. Everything. Otherwise, it's just a dream, right? So when you talk about dreams, like how does a dream become a goal? Right? We could all dream. But if you want to make it into reality, there's got to be structure. For me as a coach, I want to be a coach. I want to be on stage. I want to make great impact. Well, that's a great dream, isn't it, Ev? Doesn't everybody want to do that? Well, yeah, everybody, if you want to do that, but how do you do that? How do you get from A to B to start momentum? There's got to be structure, right? But it doesn't have to be rigid. I like something called relaxed concentration. I need preparation. I need the idea. I need a game plan. And now I have to go each day executing this. Then that's how a dream becomes realized. In the beginning, it feels like unreachable. But as you move down the field, it's almost like, wait a second, I'm about to pull this off. And that dream is no longer a dream. You're actually living in that reality. Like this is going to come to fruition because of the steps I just took. I actually held myself accountable and I trust myself that I can actually pull this off. And as you get closer and closer to this so-called dream, which is now a reality, it's a part of what you do. So now when we have these dreams are no longer dreams. Maybe the first time you do it feels like a dream, but now it's actually a goal. See, a lot of people can't accomplish goals because they don't know the right steps to take. They feel like in order to reach this dream, this goal, it has to be Herculean. It's got to be something massive. But it's the furthest thing from the truth. It's these little steps. Then people would say, how did I get here? I go, don't discount the inconsequentials. All these little moves count. And we hear it all the time. Well, I hear that all the time. It's true. Trust yourself. Trust that days, weeks, and months stack. If your concentration's there, your preparation's there, and you are consistent. Anything's attainable. Listen, I'm not going to go play in the NBA. I know that, but it's not a dream of mine. My dreams have to be somewhere out of reality a little bit in order to make it challenging and to really, for myself and my experience, to really push me. You want to battle the naysayers sometimes. I think that's sort of the juice.
How then do people stay motivated? Because there's this whole idea on motivation, right? Like some people say motivation's bullshit. It's all about discipline. So how do people stay motivated to achieve whatever this dream is that now they've turned into a goal when shit is just not going the way that they anticipated?
Motivation is a fleeting feeling, right? But sometimes you need that spark, right? But that spark doesn't last. Like motivation in the beginning and motivation in the end are very different, but everybody gets lost in the middle. It's always the middle that people lose the momentum, right? The ideas, they're great. And, if you ever ran a race, the beginning's exciting. The middle's like, holy shit. But at the end, when you can see that finish line, the gas is up again. It's like that motivation is that I do it, I can do it, all that. So the question is, how do you shorten the middle? So if somebody always asks, what's your 5-year goal? I go, 5-year goal? Ask me what my 3-month goal is. Because if I could lessen the middle, make it tighter, and move down the field that way, I don't lose the momentum. So in this month, I want to accomplish this. Well, a month in my eyes is much easier than a year. It conquers. It's the solution for two things. One, it gives you evidence that you actually can stick to something. That's evidence. And consistency with evidence builds confidence. So if I can shorten time frames, right, going back to timelines, all of a sudden these little goals start to add up. These singles and doubles start to move you down, around the pitch. I'm a soccer player, but around the field. Then all of a sudden, like, wait a second, I'm 6 months into this. I keep moving this goalpost. Wow. Shorten time frame, shorten the middle. People get lost in the middle. Shorten it. When I don't know what I'm going to be in 5 years. I can tell you where I'll be in 6 months. I can tell you where I'm going to be in 3 months. And all of a sudden that momentum builds because you have evidence you trust yourself. That's how I go about it. That's my answer to that.
But the problem is that people either they overthink it or they don't have the ability to think positive. They just automatically assume the worst, right?
Fine. So
So,
let's say that's true, right? I think thinking positive sucks. Having a positive attitude is different than thinking positive.
okay,
Because within that month
explain
or
the
3 months,
difference.
well, thinking positive is like, all right, that's all right. This could happen to me. I'll be all right. I'll be all right. But you know what? You're not all right. Right? That's not reality. There are obstacles, hurdles, and challenges along the way. Thinking positive, it can be toxic sometimes. Having a positive attitude and being opportunistically realistic is great. Hey, listen, this is my goal. There's a possibility that things are going to happen. All right, I accept that. But I know if I continue this, 3 steps ahead, 1 step back, I'm going to get there. That's realistic. Knowing I can do it is a positive attitude. Saying like, hey, nothing's going to happen. It's all right when things happen, is very different. So when I coach people, I obviously don't wish them obstacles, hurdles, and challenges, but I know they're going to happen. So I want to make sure that when these things do happen, I have strategies in place that keep the momentum going. Whether that's going for a workout, taking a walk, journaling, calling somebody, get it out, right? Because when people get lost in thought, they get caught in a muck. We all have emotions. We all have self-doubt. We all have moments when our confidence is teetering. All right, accept that. It's a part of the human experience. But what also was a part of the human experience is through struggle, there is progress. That's it. So once you really experience it and switch your behavior in those moments, it starts, when I say that it's intellectual, but when you actually experience that you actually are capable of performing and improving and getting better in the midst of, you're like, wait a second. I've been here before. I know exactly what I need to do. Right. So that's not positive thinking. That's a positive attitude with the understanding that there are obstacles, hurdles, and challenges. And I'll be all right. I may even get better.
Interesting.
What do you think about that?
I'm still processing it.
Positive, positive. It's like, hey, everything will be all right. It's almost dismissive, right? But you know what? It takes action to get out of where you are, right? It takes that one, let me go right instead of left. Because what happens is you become the vehicle. Like, I'm driving, I'm going to make best decisions. I trust myself that when shit hits the fan, I'm the one who wants the ball because I know what it takes because I've been there. That's not positive psychology. That's a winner's mindset. Every day is not Shangri-La. It's just not. It's just not.
How do or what's the secret, for people to overcome their fear or overcome their anxiety then?
Well, obviously, letting go is a very simple answer, right? But what does that really mean? We need emotions to make decisions. It's just emotions are everything, right? But at sometimes these emotions or tied to old behaviors that no longer serve us. So in order to progress and get better, we can't dismiss how we feel, but we can constantly choose new behaviors. So how does that work? That's consciousness. So instead of reacting, oh, this sucks, I can't do this, you know, we always say, quit tomorrow, just quit tomorrow, right? Because don't react today. So give yourself that mental space to, I don't know, kick a little dirt, have your moment, because all it is a moment. And then make a choice. All right, this didn't work. There's a possibility this may fail. Okay, I accept that. But what do I need to do in this moment to get better? What in this moment, how do I need to respond? You start stacking those moments of mental space, of conscious behavior. Your brain now is being rewired. So remember, the brain is this mechanism. It's always predicting. But what happens is when we predict into the future anxiety, it's often from events from the past. So it's our job in that pool of prediction to start putting new experiences in there. But when Evan was young, if he got nervous, he'd run away. Wait a second, man. I'm nervous often, but I don't behave that anyway. And actually, not only I don't behave, I've experienced when I was nervous, I taught a new behavior to it, and this is what happened. So now as my brain starts predicting into the future, anxiety, wait a second, I've done this before. And that starts to build. So right as we, same emotions, whatever they may be, maybe the intensity's less, but my behavior is completely different. Now I've rewired my brain, the experience is different. So instead of me running, for me, it's like, oh, I need to be here. That's telling me something. It's a completely different experience. So now as my brain starts to rewire, my default isn't to run, it's to give myself space and respond and not react. That's what mental performance is, right? Performance is potential minus interferences. So some of those behaviors were interferences. Some of my habits were interferences. So if I could diminish those, my potential starts to rise, right? It's like the water gets less murky. I see what I'm capable of doing, and thus my performance starts to get better. This is all an act of consciousness. We all have interferences. A lot of it's unconscious. We don't know about it. Right? There's certain things we know that we shouldn't be doing. Start taking those out. Those are pretty, we can see them. But a lot of there's resistance in the back and the unconscious. How we were programmed as children. All these sort of things come into play. But I always say behavior changes before feelings. So we may not know why we do what we do sometimes. And that's all right. But as we start to change behavior, the unconscious starts to show its hand. Like, that's why I do those things. I remember as a child, I was told this wasn't good. Don't do this. You know, don't be angry. Don't be sad. Wait a second. I'm allowed to feel angry and sad, but I'm also allowed to choose behavior. It's this whole exploration of who you are as a person. So my practice is, people say, what do you do? I go, it's the marriage between why and how. Why do I do what I do? Which is usually from the past. And then how do I change it to create this mosaic that is me, that is really me and who I want to be? That's a journey. And it takes work. Danny, this is like, what I'm saying is very intellectual. The experience is the reward of actually going through this process and journey. And then it's whatever you want it to be. But you trust yourself because you've done the work. So when you asked me earlier about positive psychology, this is not positive psychology. This is a journey. Obviously, I'd like to have this, like to have that. Just think positive. One day you have $1 million. It doesn't work that way. But what happens, you start to build these mental foundations about who you are as a person. When people talk about ego, this is a very healthy ego because you know who you are. You know how you want to respond. It gives you greater control of you. So you have to go through these processes. You have to go through this sequence. These steps can't be missed because it really builds something that you can leverage. And it takes repetition. How long does it take? I have fucking no idea. No idea. Everybody's different. But it's, you notice when you're getting better, like, how did I get here? I'll tell you how you got here. Conscious choice.
Yo, if you are a founder and expert who really understands how important video is to grow your business, but you don't have time to mess around with cameras, write scripts, do video editing, or blow your entire budget on a fancy film crew, that's exactly what we help with at Video on Easy Mode. You are literally watching how it works in this episode right now. We make it easy to create high quality, natural video content to help you grow your business and grow your brand without leaving the comfort of your home or office. So if this sounds like something that your business can use right now, either scan the QR code or hit the link in the description. It's all remote. All you got to do is show up to a virtual studio, hang out with me for about an hour, and you're going to get a month's worth of videos. And let's get back into the interview. Whew, all right. All right, so basically what I'm going to do is there's a couple of concepts that are out there, and I feel like they're in the world of, they fall under your realm. I want you to tell me whether you buy or sell these concepts. The first one, and this piggybacks right into what you were just saying, the law of attraction. Are you buying or selling the law of attraction?
I am actually buying the law of attraction.
That kind of contradicts what you just said,
I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why. Having an abundant mindset as opposed to a scarcity mindset is having an open mindset and a closed mindset. So let's use the word of curiosity. This can't be done. Nobody's ever going to do this. I'm going to fail at this. This is not very going to happen. What happens is you're signaling to your brain that it can't be done, right? So now you're tapping the unconscious to find moments in your past where you have failed, right? Abundant mindset is, there's a possibility I could pull this off. There's a possibility, this sounds like curiosity. There's a possibility I may be able to do this. Let me go see, right? Now, what happens is that as you start to move, you start to feel, put space, and respond to things. Your vision gets wider, right? Because when we can't do this, scarcity, our vision's much smaller. We see the things that we want to see, right? We want to prove our thesis that we can't do it. Those are the things we look for. It's just how the brain's wired also. It's science. So the law of attraction, right? When I first saw this is crap, but when you do a deeper dive in the science of it, it's actually what it's saying is that when we start to really understand emotions and behavior and experiences, our vision gets wider. So the what if, the curiosity, the vision gets much wider. So we see things differently, more abundantly. There's a possibility of. So my take on the law of attraction is more of a science-based one, where it's not like, well, if I just think in my house and sit in my chair and do shit and think I'll have $1 million in my bank account by Monday, that's bullshit. However, there is $1 million out there. And I love what I do. How do I get better at what I do to make bigger impact to cause this? The byproduct is $1 million. But there's steps in place. What if I'm able to do this? What does it take to do that? That's thinking, like I'm an ex-Wall Street guy for 25 years. I love risk. Love it. But I know there's another side to risk, which is shit, that didn't work. But the other side is, what if it does work? What if I am structured in my approach to give myself the best odds to do this? That's performance. What happens if my preparation, my concentration and focus is where I need it to be? Then the doors of possibility and opportunity open up. My vision gets bigger. So that's how I see that question. I knew when I said that, yes, you're going to be like, really? But that's the reason why, right? If I'm scarce, if I act small, I get shit done. So open up, be big. Be curious. So that's my answer to that one.
I like it. Okay. Follow your passion. You buying or selling?
That's a tough one, right? Because I think one of the worst things is not to have passion for something, right? Where you live this, this emptiness. And that was one of my biggest fears. Like, what am I passionate about? Like, I like working out. I like eating. I like coaching. Is that passion? It's a very tough question. I don't know if I actually have the answer, but I will say this though about passion. Passion usually comes in the form of serving others. So if we reframe that, what do you enjoy and how does it serve others? It gives us a better look. I'm passionate about making money. That's really not it, right? That's an underlying theme that goes on unconsciously. How do I help? How do I serve others? Right? Whether you're in the restaurant business, how do I make people stay? How do I create great food that gives them a lasting memory? Right? Whether you're in technology, I'm doing this to help people be more productive. That's important to me. I'm passionate about technology. I think it changes the world, right? I'm not that guy because I don't know anything about technology, but it's going to help people. I think there's a tie in. I think you said, what are you passionate about? Why are you passionate about it? What impact can you have? I think there's got to be other questions behind that to explore, to really see what you're passionate about, what you want to accomplish. Yeah, it's a very tough question. I wish I had a better answer. But I think you put it in like, how does it help others? I think it reframes the entire question.
I'll let you get away with not giving me a buy or sell on that one. All right, what about this one?
I'll take a walk on that one because it's a tough one, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, you plead the
So I
fifth.
want to
Okay,
be
I got
honest.
you. You are the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most time with.
150%. No doubt. Now, it's not everybody has to think like me, right? I want to do this. They want to do this, but it has to be growth mindset. It has to be a mindset of getting better. When you're not with people who want to improve and get better and see what they're capable of, it gives you an out. But when you're with people who want to move forward, and I keep saying impact because it's important to me, create impact in their lives, in their own ecosystems, their families, or outside of that, those are the people you want to be around. And it's interesting, those circles can change. But the idea is spot on. So yes, I agree with that. I think it's top 2. You want to be with people who don't necessarily judge you, but who can somewhat call you out, that you respect. When somebody critiques you and you respect them, it carries heavy weight. When somebody critiques you and you don't respect them, I think it's detrimental. So pick your people wisely. Pick the people you share your ideas with and you want to grow with wisely. I've been very fortunate. I'm 53 years old to have a great network of people who don't do exactly what I do, but definitely have the same mindset I have, right? Who challenge me. We have different thought processes about things, different opinions about things, but the character is very similar. So yes, 100%. I agree.
Yeah, you're buying that one. I got it.
What do you have about that one? It's like one of those things like it's just true.
All right, what about this? Your behavior today is all from your childhood. You buy or sell that?
Well, the answer is yes to a point. The answer is yes to a point. If you are living unconsciously, the answer is 100% yes. If you are living a conscious life and recognize it, the answer obviously is no. Right? So I am not the same guy at 53 that I was at 33. So at 33, I had more tendencies, more programming from my past than I do today. So in the last 20 years, I've rewired my brain for me to thrive because I recognized that some of my early childhood wiring was no longer serving me. So if I didn't make changes behaviorally, the answer would be 100% yes, that I am the same person I was when I was 2. So I know that As children, pre-verbal, verbal in the beginning, that's your wiring. Boo, boo, boo. It's the surroundings. It's your caregivers. But what happens if we don't challenge that past programming, we will be the same, if not worse. So there are certain things in our program that no longer serve us, and there's certain things that do. We have to be able to recognize, like I said earlier, these interferences. Some of these we are pre-wired, but they no longer serve us. They have to be challenged and changed. Is that hard? Of course it is. Does that take massive introspection? Of course it does. But in order to go where they really want to go, change has to happen. We have to throw out the motherboard sometimes and replace it with a new one. And that's kind of what I do for a living, actually. It's a nice segue, right? It's taking those interferences out, looking at what that program looked like and knowing it doesn't serve us any longer, and have the courage to change it.
Beautiful. All right. I'm going to end on this. If you are feeling behind in life, like maybe it's too late or whatever, what's your advice?
I think there's a reality in time, right? When I was 30, I could take much more risk than I can at 53, right? Because now the plate has gotten a little fuller. If you have children, if you're married, the recovery time of failure is a little greater. However, we have to be realistic. Like if I want to play in the NBA right now, obviously that's not being realistic, right? If I want to do something that's so massive, but my time, that's not very realistic. But there also are moments where, and this goes back to what you were saying about the law of attraction and vision. The simplest thing is I want to get into better shape, right? As opposed, I want to make $10 million next year. Start small with something where you start to really believe that you're capable of doing it. Put structure in some, it's usually somebody wants this, but they really want something else. Put structure in one part of your life where you believe you can change at any age. And what that does, it starts to rewire the brain. So now if I want to start a company at 53, okay, it's going to take a lot of effort. It's going to take capital. All right. So what kind of mindset do I need? What kind of preparation do I need that doesn't stall the process? Right? Because listen, at any age, they always say that procrastination isn't the lack of effort. It's the fear of a future feeling. So figure out what your fear is, right? I'm going to fail. I'm going to lose all my money. My family, this is not responsible of me. Okay, that's a fear. So that's going to stop us. How do you break it down? So, you know what? This is my idea. What's the first step I need to do to get the first look into this thing? Start experimenting, right? And sometimes it is getting in shape to get your mind right, to get ready. And sometimes it's just starting small. I want to see what this looks like, but start to cause some momentum, right? It may not work, but it also opens the door of regret. Give it a go, but don't give it a go and just throw shit against the wall. Have a plan, but execute each part of this plan. Don't wait, because days stack, weeks stack, months stack. If you have an idea, sit down. I do this all day long. Once again, I'm not talking my book. Like, talk with somebody who's done it. Ask them, what does it take to get to A to B? And you're going to have your naysayers, right? But give it some thought about, how am I going to actually go about doing this? But take a step. Do not wait, right? Waiting, if I waited to become a coach at 46, maybe next year. Now I'm 53 and I just want to start my career. It's much harder. Start now. Fail early. Don't wait. Because if you start aligning, and it's a great question, because it encompasses all the questions you just asked me. Surround yourself with smart people who've done this, who are open-minded and non-judgmental, right? Believe that it's possible. Have a plan, have a structure in place. You're going to be afraid. Don't have to think positive because you know what? There's going to be hurdles, obstacles, and challenges. Be prepared for those, right? Be realistic, but opportunistic. And then go see what you're about. It's a great final question to these series of questions because everything starts to line up. But it comes down to one thing. You're going to feel the way you feel. Switch your behavior. Once you start switching your behavior, you have these small little wins. That creates momentum. Momentum creates confidence because we have evidence. And then trust yourself.
Beautiful.
That was a good tail end question, by the way. That puts it all together, actually. I don't know if you did that, but on purpose.
I've had some practice at this.
Yeah.
So Evan, just tell everybody where they can find you.
My name is Evan Marks. I've been a mental performance coach now for over 8 years. I was an ex-Wall Street guy. You can find me at m1performancegroup.com. Evan Marks on LinkedIn, emark72 on Instagram, and also on my LinkedIn page, as well as my website, there's a discovery call button. So if you'd like to have a chat, it's a 45-minute call. That's free. I get to know you. You get to know me. I've been on a lot of podcasts and stuff like that. So you can look those up. Those are mostly on my webpage as well. Danny, what a pleasure to be here. I mean, I get to see you often, so I enjoy this.
No, I'm glad we finally made it happen, and we'll definitely get you back here because I have some more questions.